back again, another live stream, podcast, or broadcast, whatever that is, that I just basically don't know what's the correct title because I basically only try to write a single or change a single word in the front of the broadcast word. So, because the default title for every live stream is basically just my broadcast, so I just try to change the my into a single other words that is basically I just don't know what kind of that words is actually represent for. So yeah, it's just pretty random because so I just don't know what kind of things that I basically want to talk about because I just recently finished two new unboxing video that I basically recently done yesterday as well for the unboxing video footage itself. So it was not many package and it's not really important package as well because most of the package is actually a cheap package that I basically try to bought overseas or even just wanted to utilize a market both of my e-commerce shipping cost promotion. So yeah, that's the reason why. But this morning I was just found out about an interesting things that I basically just immediately tried to bought because it's not that expensive. So it was, but it's pretty unique because I never really see those things was sold before. So it was a steering wheel again. Even though it's most likely only be used for my collection, but yeah, since I never really owned those steering wheel previously, so yeah, I just immediately tried to bought it because yeah, afraid that I basically miss those kind of unique things again. Besides, yeah, it's actually make me satisfied as well to have those kind of things because yeah, it's basically sit near or I basically try to place those collection near the regular place that I basically every day use, so I basically can see those collection all the time. So right now I basically already try to put the Logitech G29 steering wheel and also the my latest G27 steering wheel. So the old G27 steering wheel is actually put on another room that's basically full of my unnecessary collection or just things that I basically can sell, or it's just the effect of rabbit hole of mechanical keyboard collection perhaps, or I'm not sure what. So yeah, so yeah, there's actually one more steering wheel, car steering wheels, but basically it definitely needs some adapter in order to apply it on my steering wheel, even though for G29 and G27 I'm not sure whether it is actually supported to be installed on the G25 as well, because for some reason the mounting for the G27 and G29 it's actually different, so most likely G25 is also the same. So yeah, basically it's definitely needs some tweak or walk around that I'm not sure whether if it can be installed, the button or the function of the steering wheel can basically work as well or not. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit tricky. But for this Thrustmaster 3 T300 Alcantara steering wheel that I basically bought it the same exact price that the latest G27 steering wheel that I tried to bought is actually didn't have any kind of buttons. So obviously because the T300 steering wheel is actually pretty expensive, it's almost $100 for the standard steering wheel. So the Alcantara is actually much more expensive because yeah, it's kind of like the one that's basically really sold I'm not sure. So that's the reason why many people try to sell secondhand. It's still pretty much similar to those new price. So it's almost $200 for the second hand, and I just don't get it why this seller can sell for only $30, even though it basically didn't have any buttons. But it's okay since I still didn't have any Trustmaster 300 to be installed as well. So I do have Trustmaster steering wheel, but it was actually the one that pretty cheap, so it's only less than $100 each. So, but I'm not sure whether if I basically try to change it, the steering wheel, it's definitely will cannot keep the buttons that basically beneficial to be used for interacting in the game. So yeah, most likely I just don't know what kind of steering wheel that I basically will have in the future that basically can use those kind of custom steering wheel. So it's only try to force mounting into the steering wheel because the previous steering wheel is didn't have any buttons. Most likely it was actually a custom steering wheel that was built handmade using Arduino, but yeah, it's still pretty much expensive because the last time that I tried to see the price is almost $100, so it's basically the same like the factory release or official release. That's actually the correct word to describe what I basically forgot previously. So yeah, that's the reason why I just don't know whether it's gonna be worthy or not to buy those kind of handmade steering wheel, because it's definitely made of wood for the base. Because yeah, although 3D printing plastic is already pretty common, but in order to produce a big things, it's still pretty much expensive. So wood is usually still often used for those kind of handmade things. Even though, yeah, if you talk about mixer, handmade mixer that I used to bought in old times, that I'm not sure whether I still have those kind of things or not, because I've already tried to move those unnecessary things into another place that basically, yeah, I only try to visit once in a while for several months, perhaps, I'm not sure. So it was actually made of plastic and metal covers, if I'm not mistaken. So, but maybe because it's just pretty much a regular square box, which basically can be retrieved from broken things, perhaps, I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm not sure how long that I basically will live stream this podcast or broadcast, because it's already 9 minutes, and yesterday live stream is actually the longest that I basically tried to create since the beginning that I tried to live stream on the YouTube. So it's around 26 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely this time I will try to be a little bit shorter, perhaps, because I definitely want to do some good behavior as well. But I think I'm not sure whether I will try to do it using a recording or not, because yeah, for some reason I'm just feel a little bit lazy to do the recording, because it's basically need to use two iPhone or gadget at the same time. So what kind of things that I basically want to talk about? So basically I will try to do hang out with the office colleague or co-workers today, and yeah, that's pretty much unnecessary. So just don't really like to go into the office, especially when it's still possible to work from home, because yeah, for some reason the only thing that I basically want to do when I was go out from the home is just for entertainment purposes. So I just don't want to work outside, because yeah, obviously when I'm just already confident with the setup that I basically try to use every day, so using a laptop to work is pretty inconvenient, because yeah, I think I used to talk about in the previous live stream, or maybe in some sort of Animoji gaming or unboxing video, that I basically often try to talk about random stuff as well. So sadly, some sort of co-working space is still not provide a proper setup to, especially for the tech guy, or kind of like monitor, proper monitor, or even proper keyboard to make it ergonomic. So yeah, maybe because most of the people that basically use co-working space is actually not that tech guy, so it's most likely like a cafe. That's people that often try to meet like in the cafe. So that's the reason why the food that was actually sell in the co-working space is usually have the same or similar price like many food price in the cafe. So yeah, that's really sad, and I don't know whether in the future that I'm actually wanted to create those kind of co-working space, but with the ergonomic things. But yeah, that's definitely need a lot of stakes to create, because yeah, if you talk about the ergonomic setup there, it's more like an internet cafe, or yeah, gaming cafe, PC gaming cafe, which I'm not sure whether it is actually still available or not, because for some reason many people have already shift into mobile online games, which is basically doesn't really need anything or many things to basically make it convenient to play competitively. I don't know whether it is actually the correct word or not, but yeah. So, but the different things about the internet cafe and co-working space is basically internet cafes usually more focus on some sort of like cubicle space. So definitely it's still not proper to be used for working, obviously. So that's the reason why combining internet cafe and co-working spaces will be pretty interesting, even though I'm not sure whether it is actually gonna be popular or not, because for some reason technology things is not is started to not really popular. Probably I'm not sure whether it's actually the effect of the evolvement the evolutions of artificial intelligence such as ChatGPT, or it's actually started to, yeah, many people just don't want to use that much technology, because most people obviously prefer to do work face to face rather than virtual working, like the one that I basically really like to do from home. So yeah, that's the reason why. And what else that I basically want to talk about? So yeah, there is actually some sort of store that, or a club meetup perhaps, for mechanical keyboard, but I think it is only for testing mechanical keyboard. So there is a lot of mechanical keyboard obviously, but it is not used for working, maybe because they just still technically lazy to provide the desktop, such as the monitor or any other peripherals that can be used. So yeah, usually it's maybe it will try to be connect into a portable gadgets perhaps, I'm not sure, because talk about the aesthetic video or aesthetic setup, the one that basically available pretty big is actually the one that's related with food, if I'm not mistaken. So there used to be several kitchen or open kitchen that I used to see in certain shopping center or certain place for course, for cooking course perhaps, but it's actually pretty good setup. So but obviously it's actually just for making people convenient to learn about cooking, not for, I don't know, for shooting purposes perhaps. Because yeah, if you talk about aesthetic food video, if it can be created properly, it's definitely gonna be pretty popular. And yeah, it's just pretty interesting to have those kind of place to be dedicated to create those things. So there used to be a creative hub that was created by the government, but I'm not sure whether it's actually still active or not, because yeah, for some reason there are already a change of the government. So that I don't know whether the previous one is already tried to deprecate the second previous government or not, because yeah, maybe it is not that popular as well, or maybe it was located in not so popular places for people to visit. But one things that I basically really remember about the things that basically available in those places is basically 3D printing, which is pretty cool, even though I basically never really use, and it's definitely still pretty hard to use those kind of thing because you have to be good at 3D modeling perhaps, I'm not sure. And if you talk about owning your own 3D printing, even if you're basically able to create the model, it's still pretty expensive to print, because the filament that was used is pretty big in, and that's the reason why, in order to create big things using 3D printing that I was trying to mention in the first phase of this video, on the early times of this video, is gonna be pretty expensive. So yeah, that's the reason why. And yeah, probably the other things that related to 3D printing is probably like some sort of drill or cutting saw. That's basically a little bit dangerous stuff for me, that I actually quite afraid to use those kind of things. But yeah, besides, I'm not really good at modifying stuff, so I usually try to ask other people to do that, which is basically usually work on those kind of things, even though yeah, it's not dedicated to modified stuff. So that's the reason why, in order to modify or custom my Hot Wheel collection that I used to collect at the first time that I basically get a full-time job after graduating from bachelor degrees, I usually try to ask other people to disassembly the refat of the Hot Wheels cars in order to change the Hot wheels. So so basically, yeah, it's pretty common to change from the plastic dummy wheels into rubber premium wheels, just like the premium Hot Wheels. So turning a regular Hot Wheels into premium Hot Wheels. And yeah, many people's who basically, not many people, some people's in the YouTube perhaps, I'm not sure, in YouTube as well perhaps, like to customize Hot Wheels cars to look exactly like the one that basically shown in the movie or in the games. So that's definitely have a lot of efforts, because yeah, when I tried to customize the decal, which is basically doesn't really need a hardware to do that, but it's still pretty hard, and I always try to fail. Even though if you talk about the decal that basically available. It's basically there's are so many, and it's actually pretty cheap. But yeah, sadly, it is not easy to customize it. It's still not easy because yeah, for some reason, if you want to do it perfectly, you basically need to tear down or tear. Yeah, I don't know what's the more appropriate word for that. The previous paint and also the previous decal of the Hot Wheels, so that you can actually see the raw metal of the cars, which is basically kind of like steel color, or I don't know. So I usually try to bought the I used to bought several Hot Wheels cars that basically already tried to be tear down like that, and yeah, try to repaint it with the color that I basically tried to decide. And yeah, but it's basically not as still not as good as I basically expected, because repainting a Hot Wheels car is also not that easy. So yeah, including the applying the water slide decals, that basically even harder, which I just still don't know about the trick. So even though it was basically pretty cheap decals, so that's the reason why I basically tried to collect several decals that I basically never really applied it yet, and I'm not sure whether in the future I will finally able to do that or not. Probably it was gonna be part of my co-working space, perhaps for people that want to customize something. I don't know, because yeah, for some reason when I try to save some money to create the things that I basically really dream of, it's basically need to be something personal first before I basically try to make something that basically personal to me to be publicly used by many peoples, because at some point when you already got a lot of money or already fulfill some of your main desires, you eventually try to think that all of those things basically doesn't really need doesn't really necessary to you. So yeah, you eventually wanted to share, even though at some point it will definitely can make it worse or can make it better. But yeah, it's okay, consider that we can actually create some sort of system that basically select a proper people perhaps to experience our collections properly. So yeah, I'm not sure whether it is actually the correct explanation or not to dreams that I always try to imagine every time in the toilet, perhaps, I'm not sure. So yeah, it's actually already reaching up the same exact time that I basically tried to create yesterday, so it's already 24 minutes, and I don't know whether I basically wanted to talk about more things, because yeah, actually, as long as I basically already able to create a single live stream every day, it's already make me satisfied, because for some reason if I try to do it very long, it will not necessary as well, because the amount or the traction that I basically got is still not the way that I expected, but it's okay. So yeah, that's the reason why I think I want to stop